automatic rotation Weakauras. Are they too broken? How do they work? This is what we're gonna be talking about today. Now, I made a video when they did the retail changes. They basically made an auto rotation button, and it was a very controversial change, people were mad, but the entire reasoning from the point of view of the developers was that there is way too many add-ons that make the rotation easier, because the rotation is so complex in retail that you kinda need add-ons to do well in the game. There is this add-on called Heckily in retail that basically just tells you exactly what to press all the time. There is even another add-on called GSE. I am pretty convinced that add-on is illegal, even though I haven't heard people getting banned for using it. I am almost sure GSE is illegal. GSE is an unironical one-button rotation without the delay or anything. It is just like literal botting, in my opinion. But what is Heckily and what is the auto rotation Weakaura? I will show you, because I got one of these. I didn't make this Weakaura, and as a matter of fact, I might put some tweaks on it. This is the Beast Mastery Hunter Rotation Weakaura, made by Nomad39, and this is a lot of work. This is actually pretty impressive. But basically, to put it very simply, this little guide will tell you exactly what to press. So as you can see, as I keep doing stuff, I keep getting different prompts in here in this little queue that tells me what I should be pressing. It is not too easy to follow perfectly, because this Weakaura doesn't have like a buffering thingy. There are some very fancy Weakauras here, but you just see what you're supposed to do here, and you can see it tells you like a little queue of what you should do next, and it basically takes care of all the thinking for you. Look at it that way. Now, this Weakaura is actually very impressive in a certain different ways. The main one is that it makes it so your cooldowns pop along each other. Your cooldowns almost always align very well, and it also keeps track of things like your buff uptime to tell you what is more ideal to press and whatnot. I don't think this particular Weakaura is the perfect rotation Weakaura, but that shouldn't be a problem, okay? That shouldn't be part of the debate, because the truth of the matter is, with enough work and effort and putting logic in the Weakaura, it should be. And it is definitely more damage than I could do without the Weakaura. Now, if you go to the Weakaura, there is a lot of parts, okay? They got like some additional things that track your focus and your cooldowns. Those are normal Weakauras. I don't think that's necessarily cheating. We can take those out for the sake of this video. There is also right here the buff tracker, same stuff, right? Like, this is a normal Weakaura. I don't think anybody's gonna say that's cheating. But this is the crazy part. And I am doing this to show you how powerful add-ons have become over time. Of course, in the old vanilla days, running an add-on like this would have taken way too much RAM and computer resources. That is obviously not a problem anymore. The game is a lot more optimized as well. It would seem the guy that made this Weakaura is German. We are looking at his code right here, and it is fairly easy to do, okay? It is a lot of work, because you gotta do a priority right here, of course, but it is basically a bunch of if and then statements. If I got this buff on the target, if I am missing this buff, if I am missing my pet. There is other ones right here, like my bestial rat. It will take into consideration if it is on cooldown, if my dire beast is coming up, or if my kill command is coming up, so it can take the most advantage of my bestial rat. And that is actually a pretty complex thing to think about, right? Like, the math in your head of, I got a certain amount of seconds on this cooldown, and this cooldown is coming out in this amount of seconds, and this cooldown is coming out in this amount of seconds. Making that decision quickly is very, very difficult. But with a computer, it is instant, and it tells you exactly when to pop it. You could put as much logic on this as you could possibly want. If you're telling me I don't agree with this Weakaura because it doesn't take this into account or that into account, you can make it so the Weakaura will do anything you want. That's what I'm trying to show you here. There is different conditionals for when you should pop arcane shot, when you got 60 focus, 70 focus, 80 focus, when you should fill up with cobra shot, when you should not. It is even taking into account if I know an ability, right? Because for example, Glaive Toss, I do not have Glaive Toss yet, it's a 90 ability. It doesn't show it up in the rotation chart, and I am tempted to make a tutorial on this. I don't know if I want to take into the entire project of making like several Weakauras just for show, but anybody that understands their class well and has patience to figure out the little flowchart. This is simple logic, like the logic you were taught in school about math, like if this happens, that kind of operation. You do not need any coding experience. Obviously it would help, but you do not have to know a single line of code and you could make this. And they are now being distributed for free in several websites. I got several of them in my Discord. If you play any class, you're gonna see the channel of the class in my Discord, and I probably got a Weakauras for that class in there. And what I am trying to say is that Weakauras can now be perfect at your rotation. Even if this particular Weakaura isn't, it will. It definitely can do that. You just gotta change the logic until you get what you want. It operates with information that any other add-on would get, like what's your buffs, what's your cooldowns. Every add-on can get that information. It is not cheating. The problem, I guess, is why are add-ons allowed to do complex logical operations? And now that they are gonna be widespread and everybody's gonna have access to these Weakauras, I think we're gonna get that answer very soon. I don't want to underestimate the impact of these Weakauras, because say you actually know how to play your class very well, you know the rotation like the palm of your hand, you know exactly what to do. This Weakaura is still broken for you, because even if you know what to do, it takes a lot of focus to keep track of all your cooldowns and do everything right. So if you can take all the focus away from thinking about your rotation and you can focus on doing the mechanics, you are gonna be a much better player, you're gonna have better uptime, you are gonna help the raid more, whatever. And that's the problem I want to talk about the most, because even if you oppose these Weakauras, even if you think these Weakauras are bad for the game and you do not want to do them, if you take parsing seriously, I don't, but if you take parsing seriously, you are gonna have to do this now to compete, because all the people at the top are using Weakauras, usually custom Weakauras that are even fancier, but pretty much everybody at the top is using Weakauras to automate most of their logic in their game. Not because they are bad at the game, but because freeing up that little extra bandwidth out of your brain to think about something else is always gonna translate into a better performance. It is an advantage and every advantage counts. And this is only the beginning as far as Classic is concerned. We are going to face a lot more of these Weakauras and they are gonna get fancier and fancier and fancier. Which goes to the question I wanna talk to you about in the comments, and I would love to know what is your opinion on this, because it is tough. Should these Weakauras be allowed? Now, I think most people are gonna say no. The question I wanna ask is actually a different question, because even if you think they should be banned, how do you go about enforcing it? I do not see a lot of ways you could. Do you wanna make it so Weakauras only can use a certain amount of lines of code to limit the complexity of them? What about Weakauras that track raid mechanics, because they would also break? What if people just try to use like 20 Weakauras that are tiny at the same time instead? What if you prevent add-ons from doing complex logical calculations? That would also definitely break down these Weakauras, but it would also break down DBM. It would also break down even for fun things like chess, the chess add-on. I love the chess add-on. Or Peggle. Peggle will never work in an add-on anymore. I guess you could make a rule that you can use it out of combat but not in combat. Either way, a lot of add-ons that you like and use in combat every day, perhaps even LBUI would break. LBUI would have to remove a lot of features if they limit the amount of processing things an add-on can do. And even though I think the one button rotation in retail is idiotic, and yes, I will abuse it if I get the chance, I totally understand the broken reasoning that brought them to that decision. Add-ons make the game easier to play, add-ons do all the thinking for you, so in return they gotta make the game more complex to compensate, and that leads to, well, retail. But would I give up all my fancy add-ons just to break these Weakauras? Now, I don't know if I am comfortable making that sacrifice. I kinda love add-ons, even though I think they are pretty freaking cheating. There is a reason that all the other MMOs do not allow add-ons. Personally, I just hope they put like an LBUI mode to the default UI on the game, and yeah, that would take care of everything for me. Like, can you imagine going back to default bags? Oh my god. Perhaps trying to break these Weakauras would cause more trouble than it's worth. All I know is that auto-rotation Weakauras are here to stay, and I am gonna keep using them, and most people are gonna start using them, especially given how easy it is to share a Weakaura beta now. Do you think that's gonna be bad for the game? Do you think that's gonna be good for the game? I would love to hear it. It is definitely gonna be a very interesting time. We are gonna do a class guide for every single spec, so stay tuned for that. Check out the Discord, we got Weakauras and macros for every single spec. We're working on all the guides. Check out our Twitch for the GDKP with every streamer in Benediction Alliance shenanigans we're gonna be doing at the launch of MoP. And subscribe, join the Discord, and thank you for watching.